Hi traders, and welcome to my video on the free ADX EA, which I have developed for the MT4 trading platform. In this video, I'm going to run you through some of the EA settings and how it can be used. You can also download it using the link in the description and by visiting my website. So here I have the MT4 platform. Okay, I've opened the strategy tester window here. We have the ADX EA loaded. We have the Euro US dollar selected on the 1 hour chart time frame. Okay. For testing model, I've set it to open prices only because the EA uses open prices for its calculations and it's quicker to test that way. That being said, you might want to switch to every tick just so that you can get accurate testing when it comes to money management. Okay, where all the pips make a difference. For example, stop loss and take profit may be triggered intra-bar, whereas the open prices will only use the open prices. But it's good for rough testing to begin with. For the day, I've just set it to the previous month, and I've also set it to visual mode because I want to just show you how the EA looks. Okay, so just run through some settings. This is just basically in the strategy tester. If you click the expert properties window, you can choose the deposit you'll test with, the trade direction. Okay, and if we go to the inputs, here you have the various inputs available in the EA. So just make that bigger for you. Okay, you can set the EA to send you pop-up alerts. Basically, when there's a signal, the platform will do a pop-up and a sound alert. Just to let you know that there's a trading signal. You can set email alerts, SMS alerts, and also use trading. When use trading is set to true, that means that the EA will actually place a trade on your behalf. Okay, so if you're not going to be around and you're happy for an EA to take control of the trading, you can set that to true. Otherwise, you can set it semi-automated just to ping you an alert, and then you can get to your platform and have a look out of the setup. Days filter is self-explanatory. That's basically the trading days that it will run. Okay, hours filter the same. You can just choose the hour to start and the hour to end, or just have it run in 24 hours as we have set here. Magic number is basically order ID. Okay, so you can do the magic number for a buy trade and the magic number for a sell trade. This is so that this EA doesn't clash with another EA or trades that you may be placing. Okay, maximum spread and maximum slippage. Basically, the EA will not send an alert or place a trade if the current spread and current slippage is above these values, which are in pips. So they're set to 5 pips by default. Okay, money management, you can choose how many open orders the EA will allow at any time. So when it's set to 1, as it is by default, that means that the EA can have 1 open buy and or 1 open sell at any time. Lot size, you can set the lot size that you'd like the EA to trade with if you have use trading set to true. The lot size will apply if you have use risk set to false. If you set use risk to true, the EA will calculate the lot size depending on the risk percent that you set here in this field. By default is 2. That means that the EA will calculate the lot size so that a maximum loss is 2% of your balance. Stop loss and take profit you can change. So you can set, I don't know, 50 stop loss and a 100 pip take profit. Close opposite signal. When this is set to true, if there's an opposite signal to the trade that you opened, the EA will close the open trade. You can set that to true or false. Okay, break even. You've got the break even option. You can set the EA to move the stop loss to break even after this number of pips. So if we set it to 50, it means after 50 pips, the stop loss will move to break even. You also have a trailing stop feature here, which will trail the stop loss by this number of pips. Okay. Each time this number of pips is reached, the stop loss will be moved for you. This is good if you're just trying to maximize and move as much as possible. Close percent, this is basically the percentage of the position that the EA will close every time the trailing gap is reached. Okay, and minimum lot closes, you'll just stop closing out a position if the minimum lot's been reached. So let's just say we are trading one standard lot here and we set minimum lot to close to 5. It's just not going to close any of the position anyway. Okay, because we're trading a lot size lower than the minimum lot close. Whereas if you set it to 0.1, the EA will keep closing. Say if you had it 20, we'll close 20% of the trade until the minimum lot value was reached, but we'll just leave that 0 and 5. Okay, the ADX, now this is the nitty gritty, basically the trading strategy of the EA. Okay, so it uses the ADX, if that wasn't obvious. And basically it's based on the ADX trend. You've got the ADX period and the ADX level. Okay, I'm going to show you now what that basically means. So the ADX is here. Okay, I'll just close the settings window for now. On the ADX, you look for when the green is above the red, it is a buy signal. Okay, and when the red is above the green, it's a sell signal. Okay, that's the main premise of the ADX. Then you have this line here, this blue line, which is basically the momentum. Okay, so the higher that is, the higher the momentum of a particular move. Generally, when it's very low, the market tends to be ranging. When it's very high, the market tends to be in a big trend. You can see here this drop there, and you have the ADX main line moves up. It's a downtrend, so the red's above the green. Okay, just like when we have this move upwards here, the green is above the red, and we have the ADX moving upwards momentum. On the other hand, when the market is ranging like this, the ADX is lower, these lines are choppy. Okay, so what some traders would do is just say, okay, I only want to enter a trend when the ADX is above the 20 level, for example. So if we just add that in there, it's not very visible. Let me just make that more visible for you. Okay. What color shall we make it? I can leave it silver. This line here, okay? So basically, some traders will say, well, when their ADX line is below their market's ranging, when it's above 20, the market is trending. Okay, so you can set that from the EA settings. The periods as well, just basically how sensitive the ADX are. By default is 14, but if we choose it to change it to say 21, it will be less sensitive. Okay, if we change it to 7, it will be more sensitive and quite messy. Okay. That being said, some traders who are more aggressive may want to use 7 periods, but either way you can choose from the EA settings. If you want to use the ADX level, for example, 20, means it will only take trades if the ADX level is above 20. In the period you can change, as you want, but we'll leave it at 14. We'll leave the level off for now, just so I can show you exactly how the EA works. I'm going to run the visual test now. Let me just double check. We've got use trading set to true. One standard lot, not using a break even or trailing stop. We'll close on opposite signal. Stop loss 50, take profit 100. So we'll run that. Okay, as you can see, the EA, every time the ADX crossed the red, crossed the green, it placed a sell trade. Okay, there, sell trade. Green crossed above the red, placed a buy trade and closed the sell trade because we had close on opposite signal set to true. Red crossed above green here, closed the buy trade, open a sell trade, so on and so forth. So it just followed that basic ADX cross strategy without paying attention to the ADX level because we didn't have that. We had that set to 0, so basically saying it doesn't matter. As you can see from the graph, it's not the best. That's simply because we're just blindly taking ADX cross trades, which I certainly wouldn't do. What I would do is I would be looking at the market. So I'd look at the market direction. I'd see that, okay, we have this wedge pattern here. I have a triple top formation, a breakout to the downside. This is a bit of a bull trap, arguably, for whoever was trying to buy into this move. The market was making the lower highs as well. So there was plenty of bearish signals we had going on. There was the breakout there. Some traders may have taken this breakout trade, which would have been a good trade. I mean, if you just took that one trade, it may be aggressive, but you're looking at almost 400 pips. Alternatively, you could wait for the breakout and the pullback and just entered on this breakout here. That support then became resistance and still caught most of that move. If I did enter there, it's nothing to do with the EA, but I'm just pointing it out as we're here. I would have used a trailing stop and just manually moved my stop loss above these highs on the way down, just to lock in as much of the trade as possible. And you could have caught, in fact, almost 400 pips. How much would that have been? Let's have a look. Over 350 pips, and move the stop loss above the highs all the way down. And then when price turns around eventually, we would have maximized the move as much as possible. You can always manually exit as you see the market making higher lows in this consolidation around here. But sticking to the EA, so what would I do in this situation? As I said, we get a graph like this if we just trade the ADX cross all the time. Yeah, it's not reliable as is, in my opinion. What I would do is I look for the trend direction. I say, okay, we're in a downtrend now. And I'm going to only look for sell trades. So we can set the EA to positions short only, basically only sell trades. And as I said, it doesn't have to trade for you. It can just send you alerts. So it can alert you when there's a cross of the ADX. And why would that be a good idea? Well, let's just say that there was a pullback and the green ADX crossed above the red ADX. Is saying that there's a pullback to the upside in this downtrend. Send us an alert. Basically, that alert would tell us we can look for an entry on the pullback. Okay, it wouldn't necessarily be the ADX as entry, but we could just mark the support and say, okay, we've had an alert. The ADX, where does it happen? Okay, the ADX here, you can see here is crossed above the red. Send us an alert, sends us an alert, we draw our support line and we look to enter on the breakout, okay? And we can do this throughout this trend, okay? We don't, in fact, you don't even need the ADX for this. You could just be checking. This is a 1 hour chart. I prefer the higher chart timeframes just because they contain more price data and therefore I find the signals tend to be much more reliable. So 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, weekly, even monthly. It's easier to capture a big move like this for 400 pips on the 1 hour than it is to get 400 pips on the 5-minute chart time frame, in my humble opinion. But anyway, so all we did is just find the trend and just traded the breakout of support. Let's have a look here, and you can use the ADX, as I said, to alert you when there are pullbacks. That basically means it's crossing above in the opposite direction. Okay. It's worth mentioning for alerts, if you wanted an alert for a pullback, you would actually need positions set to long as well. And that's because it will alert you when there's a crossover for a long trade. Okay, so even if you are looking to only place sell trades, you might still want an alert for a long trade just to tell you, okay, there's been a pullback. Or alternatively, you can leave it to just short only and it will alert you when the price crosses, the red crosses above the green, which could be more of a, better timing for the entry. Okay, you may only need an alert then. What I will do now is, so we'll set it to short only because we know we're in a downtrend this month. We'll leave the stop loss and take profit as it is. I'm going to turn off close on opposite signal. Well, no, I'll leave it on first and just want to show you. So I'll leave on close on opposite signal. Okay. Let's have a look at the graph. So it's slightly better because we were trading in the direction of the trend. The trend is your friend. Whoops, wrong one. I mean, I could have and I would have traded this trend anyway with price action. I mean, it's simple, wasn't it? It was a clear downtrend. We could have just entered on the breakouts all the way down. Okay, there was ample opportunity to enter this, especially when you zoom out, you can see even better the levels of support we could have been trading from. You can even go back to this level here for that breakout there. I think that is an NFP, non-farms payroll, first Friday of the month candle, but nonetheless, still would have been a good breakout trade. We could have rode the momentum of that. Even on the pullback here, you see the price came back up to touch that support come resistance level, and traders obviously hopped in on this trend there. This line, in fact, went all the way back there, so just emphasizes that strength of support. And when it was broken, we had this nice rally down. But to stay on topic, the EA, so now the EA basically would have exited the trade every time we had a opposite signal. But we don't want that. We don't want to exit on opposite signal. And why don't we want to do that? Because we're looking to ride this trend as much as possible, okay? We can have the ADX to help us with entry, but we don't want to exit because it would just be exiting all the time because it's always crossing over, you know? But the overall picture is a downtrend. So what can we do in this? Well, first of all, we'll turn off close on opposite signal, okay? Then we're left with the EA will use the fix stop loss and take profit levels, which we've got set to 50 and 100, right? So we'll run a test now like that. And you can see by trading in the direction of the trend with using the fixed stop loss and take profit levels, things look even better still, okay? Nice upward curve. Okay, but the thing about this, I'm still not satisfied. And why am I not satisfied? Let me just draw my lines, just because it's a force of habit. I've got OCD line drawing. So perfect, like, you know, we caught that trend beautifully on the way down, but we still didn't have the ideal place for a stop loss. Like this red, zoom in so you can see, this red line here is where the stop loss was placed for this trade, okay? It's not terrible, but I would have placed my stop loss probably above this high here, okay? For this trade, this sell trade, my stop loss would have been here above this high, you know? Okay, that one's not too bad, but arguably the stop loss could have been here and we could have halved our stop loss. The thing is, these values are all different, okay? Which is why, you know, there are limitations to trading with expert advisors. They can't, you know, pinpoint these things all the time that you can see, you know, in a down. If I'm selling, I want to place my stop loss around the swing high. If I'm buying, let's have a look for, say if I'm buying, if I bought, there's this pullback and a breakout up here, I place my stop loss below the low, okay? If the pullback and breakout here, I place my stop loss below this low, okay? The EAs can't always do that, but we can still get, you know, the average I find for the 1 hour tends to be, in my experience, between 20 to 40 pips. You know, I don't really want to go much higher than that just because I want a sensible risk to reward ratio. If you've got a stop loss, I don't know, 100 pips, you can only take one bad trade to wipe out a run of winners. I'd rather just cut losing trades short and be like, okay, we got it wrong. We'll catch a big move like this one eventually, and we'll make back a few losses and then some, and a lot more. Like I said on this one, what's that? That was almost 400 pips. So even if we took a 20 pip loss here and there, we took 3 20 pip losses, let's say. Okay, 60 pips, and then we entered on this breakout here, made 360 pips. It's still plus 300 pips in a month. You know, it just shows the importance of good money management. But back to the EA. So that's the stop loss. Talking of risk to reward ratio, again, the take profit, I wouldn't use a fixed take profit. And why is that? Because we exited here for 100 pips because that was the fixed take profit in the EA. But look, we know there's over 300 pips in this move. I wouldn't have exited there. What would I have done? I would just be moving my stop loss above these highs. So when price got to here, my stop loss would have been moved above this high. Okay. And then on this second trade that it took, it exited here. I still would have been in the first trade with my stop loss moved to this high. And we would just be locking in the profit and staying in the one trade. This third trade exited here for 100 pips. Okay, it's a good trade, but I would have still been in the first trade and my stop loss would have been above the last high. And we could have done that all the way down and more or less probably to here and maximize the move as much as possible by just using trailing stop. As soon as we start seeing these higher lows and this consolidation around here, potentially bullish candlestick patterns, we may have just exited manually down there and had one big trade all the way down. You know, if we have fixed take profit levels and we just exit, you know, every 50 pips, so we exit here, you're just going to miss out on all that move, or you're going to have to look to re-enter. And every time you re-enter, you're increasing your chances of being wrong, okay, and taking a losing trade. So, you know, each to their own. I just prefer to get one good trade, and you can always close part of the position on the way down. Scale in if you want, but each to their own. So in saying that, the EA does have break even and trailing stop settings as well as close percents, because you can close part of the order. So if we just experiment with that then and just see what difference it makes. So let's just see, what did we get? So 2,900, let's say, okay, 2,900 profit on that. If we do an I'll just round off to 3,000, otherwise I might forget. 3,000, right? Let's see if we can better that by doing an optimization of the break even and the trailing stop. So we'll set break even, we'll optimize all of these settings. Basically, optimization means that the EA will run all the combinations you set and show you the results. Okay, so you can see which perform best. So we'll do the break even point. We'll start at it can start testing from, let's say, 20 pips, go in 20 pip increments and stop at 100. That basically means the EA will test break even point from 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. Okay, so we'll start from 20, end at 100, and go in 20 increments. Okay, break even was set to true or false. Trailing stop was set to true or false. The trailing gap will do again 20 to 100 in 20 increments. Close percent, we can say close 0% or close 20%. No, probably don't do 25 on that, up to 75%. Close percent basically means the EA will close none of the trade, or when the trailing gap is reached, it will close 25% or 50% or 75%, so on and so forth. Minimum lot to close will do 0, which means it can keep on closing. We're trading one lot, so do 0 means it can keep on closing, 0.5, and then up to 1.5, where it just won't close any part of the position. Okay, so let's see if we can, you click optimization to basically run those combinations of settings. Also, I have this genetic algorithm checked, which means that the EA will only optimize for the best possible outcomes. If you uncheck it, it will do every single combination, which can take a long time. Okay, but I find genetic algorithm tends to, usually get the best combinations, and we're still going short only because the reasons we discussed. We're in a downtrend. We're looking for short trades, whether that's from the EA sending you signals for alerts or actually placing the trade for you. So we'll run the optimization now. And now we'll just check what the results are. So we want it to be 3,000. It was around 2,900, wasn't it? We do have this top option here. So if you double click it, basically this will show us all the different combinations in the results. So you got your profit, how many trades, the profit factor, drawdown, expected payoff, etc. Okay, and then the settings there. So if you double click it, what that does is it loads those settings into the inputs, which you can actually save if you want to use them for later. If you want to create your own set files for different currencies, different time frames, you can just save it and then just load either in the strategy test or when you attach the EA to your charts in MT4. So what did the optimization say? It said that have break even and trailing stop set to true, break even at 20 and trail by 100, closing 75%. Well, it looks like it's closing a majority of the trade, which might explain why the results are so similar to not using it. But if we just run that, see a nice upwards curve, 3,100 profit. I mean, we need to check visual mode again because we've run optimization, is gone. And if we just look at the chart, my OCD is kicking in. I just have to draw these lines. It's just good habits. I mean, this is how you learn good habits. Don't be lazy, draw your lines. I mean, we could have traded this just by drawing lines. We don't need indicators. You could have just traded the price action, support, resistance, trend line, time your entry, breakout. Yeah. Time your entry, breakout, support becomes resistance. Okay. Support, becomes resistance, almost there as well. Just time your entry and you can get, I mean, look at this. Look at that support becomes resistance there. No coincidences, yeah? You could have just traded that with lines, and it's a 1 hour chart. So it's not like you need to stare at your chart all day waiting for that. But that being said, there, this ADX EA can be good to give you alerts when there are pullbacks, which could be the time when you place your lines. Or you could even trade on the ADX cross like we have here. Okay. So red cross above green, entry. It's using this dynamic money management that we've set, closing part of the position and trailing the rest, just trying to maximize the moves. As you can see, the ADX is picking some good entries on the way down. Not bad. It more or less maximized this move as much as possible. Okay, so that's one way we could have traded with this EA in the trend direction. Remember, we had it set to short trades only, sell trades only, because we were in a downtrend. And we got money management. One thing I will say about this optimization, you need to keep in mind that we've just run it over a month's worth of data, okay, which is, in my opinion, over optimization, simply because we're just finding the best settings for that particular data set. Whereas if we ran that data set from the calendar year, let's have a look. The results are a lot different, yeah? Well, that was short only, actually. Let me set it to long and short, to be fair, because we don't know if we were in up or downtrend. Not only, you got to keep in mind now we're changing the strategy a lot because we're trading long and short when we could be in an up or down trend. So the results are going to be off, as you see there. Okay. What you can do is you can optimize as many settings as you wish. Just going back to this result from the calendar year. Obviously, we were trading, just to reiterate, in both directions. Okay. Whereas, as I said, we wouldn't want to buy when the market is going down like this, just as we wouldn't want to sell when the market is going up like this. You can see that's a perfect example. Selling in an uptrend. As soon as I saw these higher lows here, I'd have the EA set to long, to long trades, and I'd just be looking to trade long in that. So we can't take much from these results. Not to mention that you can easily curve fit in EA, and that basically means you can just make it, you can adjust the settings so that they fit the data set that you're using. So for example, let's just optimize a stop loss 25 to 50 pips. Take profit, let's do 50, let's do 100 on that. 500, we'll optimize stop loss, we'll optimize take profit. We'll optimize the ADX periods. So we'll do a 7, 7, 21. So we'll do 7, 14, 21. And we'll do an ADX level as well. We'll do 0 or 20, which means basically the ADX has to be higher than 20. That blue line. So we're going to optimize all those settings over the last calendar year on the Euro 1 hour. So we'll do that. Let that run and then have a look at the results. That top one, the profit factor is quite low on that. So if we just go for the second one and we run that, let me just double check long and short. So from that, okay, looks okay, it's decent, not bad. It turned a profit. However, it's optimized over that specific data, yeah, so the past calendar year. Okay, so whereas if we go back even further, it might not be optimized for the previous year, and you can see it's not completely different performance. This is probably the start of, let's have a look. Yeah, this is the start of the year after, the following year, which we just seen looks good, but that's because we had optimized the settings for that time period. Okay, we had optimized it for then. It wasn't necessarily good for the data set prior. Okay, shall we try optimizing the data set prior? Let's do it. So we'll do it for the last 2 calendar years. Might take a little bit longer. and then we'll see the results. Okay. So we found a nice data set for, I say nice, it's not ideal. It is profitable, but it's not the best. But that's just optimized to that data set. If we go back further, that might not work. If we go in the future, that might not work. Okay, I'm just trying to emphasize to you the problem with a lot of EA developers is just over optimizing data for specific, over optimizing EA, sorry, for specific data sets to make them look good when no one can predict what's going to happen moving forward, you know. And also, is trading long and short? We don't know, what the market conditions were. We might not have wanted to be trading long in a downtrend or short in an uptrend. Okay. That being said, the EA can be good for sending you alerts. If you know you're in a certain trend direction, okay, you're in a downtrend, for example, like we are here, you can set it to send you alerts, and then you can enter, or even to trade for you if you like, and then it will enter, or you can enter in the direction of the trend. So you might want to take ADX entries. Let's just say this, let's go back to this uptrend. Excuse me. This uptrend with these higher lows here. Okay, we could have set the EA to take trades when there's a crossover. There's the crossover there. See this green cross the red? If we had the EA to trade long when the green crosses the red, only long because we're in this uptrend, it would have actually picked out a nice trade there. See? Okay. But as I mentioned, you could have probably traded that yourself by drawing your support, drawing your resistance. And yeah, you could have drawn your support as well. You could have seen this level of support held up well. You can see it's quite a significant level as well. It goes all the way back to there. And you could have just traded off the pullback or the breakout up here. You can see from the pullback, the ADX agreed that, that was a good solid trade there. Okay, you also had divergence to the upside of the ADX momentum there, which suggests increasing momentum. So yeah, semi-automated trading, I don't think should be overlooked instead of just trying to look for a miracle EA that will, get the trades right all of the time, because there are limitations, as I said, with the stop loss. It can't find the swing high or the swing low area for where to place your stop losses. It might not necessarily exit at the perfect time. I mean, going back to having this fixed take profit levels, it could mean that you leave too much on the table, or you end up exiting. You miss your exit, because you're just waiting for the magical 100 pip take profit to be reached, but it might not have been there. If you entered here, you would have been selling low, which would have been your first mistake, but you wouldn't, if you had 100 pip stop loss, you would have been getting out around here. You wouldn't have been waiting for the price to fall and just, you would have said, okay, I've gone wrong on this trade, I'll just be break even. Whereas if you had your stop loss fixed up here somewhere, and it wouldn't be there, would it? It would be here. But anyway, if you had it there and your take profit, was like all the way down here, and you entered on this breakout and you said, no, I'm only going to exit my take profit or my stop loss. Why? You could have moved your stop loss to break even around here. And worst case scenario, if you didn't exit when you saw this consolidation in these lower highs, you'd have made a few pips or broke even rather than relying on fixed levels. Okay, this is the limitations to money management when it comes to EAs. Okay. All right. Well, as I said, this is the ADX EA. I do have many other free EAs you can check out on my website. I also have an EA that combines all the indicators, or the majority of the indicators, into one. So that's like the ADX, MACD, moving averages, envelopes, Bollinger Bands, CCI, RSI, stochastics, so on and so forth. It's also got candlestick patterns and all the other settings you see here. You can adjust accordingly and set alerts. It's free to download as well. Just follow the link in the description. Okay, well, hopefully you've learned something from this video. It's been a long one, but I do appreciate you watching, and please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.